Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Use Your Box. This week's episode is fairly interesting because I'm going to be showing you guys how to make leftover soup. If you're anything like me, at the end of the week, you have some leftover remnants in your fridge from your previous week's box, and you don't necessarily want to throw that out because it's good, organic, local produce. So, what my family and I usually do is toss it all in a soup pot and make a leftover soup. So instead of being a recipe, this is more of some quick tips and helpful hints that can show you how to use your box to the best of your ability. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'll post my info below. Other than that, enjoy this episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Okay, it's been kind of a busy week, so I had quite a few things left over. So here's what I'll be putting in my soup: greens, onions, squash, lemon, salt and pepper, olive oil, and chicken broth. One thing that really helps me use my CSA is my small garden behind the house. When I make leftover soup, I always grab some fresh plants from the yard. This week, I'll be adding parsley, chili peppers, and sage to my soup. These little plants really do go a long way and help add some flavor to my leftovers. Since this isn't really a recipe, I'll just give you a quick rundown of how I make my soup. I start with my onions and add them to a large bowl. Then I chop my ingredients from the backyard, starting with my chilies. I'll be blending the soup into a potage, so I only roughly chop my ingredients into large pieces. I'll be using the fresh parsley as a garnish, so I place it in a bowl and set it off to the side. I give my sage a rough cut and add it to the bowl with my onions and pepper. Next, I prepare my squash by peeling, halving, de-seeding, and then giving it a good chop. I repeat the process for the next squash as well. When it's time for my greens, I just give them a rough chop and add them to my squash. And last but not least, I have my lemon and set it to the side. To cook my soup, I begin by heating extra virgin olive oil over medium-high heat. I add my bowl of onions, chilies, and sage to the pot. Giving it a good stir, I continue to saute the ingredients until the onions begin to soften and become translucent. I like to deglaze my pan by using a bottle of port. But if you don't have any wine around the house, feel free to skip this step. This is all about using what you have. Once I've deglazed my pan, I add my squash and my greens. At this step, I usually season my vegetables with salt and pepper. I stir my ingredients around until my greens begin to wilt, and then I go ahead and add my broth. If I don't have enough broth to cover my ingredients, I just add water until everything is submerged. Oh, and I almost forgot, I still have to add that lemon to my soup. Once my soup comes to a roaring boil like this, I turn the heat down to simmer. After about 20 minutes, I need to add a little more water to keep my veggies submerged. I give it a good stir and then bring the soup back up to a boil and let it simmer for about 40 more minutes. Once the soup is cooked for about an hour, it's time to turn it into a potage. Using a ladle, I scoop my soup into a blender. This can be kind of messy, but it's worth it in the end. I remove the center from my blender top because I'll be blending hot ingredients and I want to be able to let the steam out. I use a paper towel instead, just so the soup doesn't splatter all over the place. I blend the soup until it's smooth and creamy and no chunks remain, and then I repeat this process until I finish the whole batch. I like to top my leftover soup with sour cream, parsley, and paprika. So that's it, you guys. As I said, this really isn't a recipe, it's just a use what you have type of meal. This is a fun meal to make because it changes every week and everyone really gets a chance to make it their own. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope I'll see you next week for another CSA-inspired recipe.